Kasey Chambers before that from her brand new album Backbone, and the song we heard from it was called A Love Like Springsteen. And she has, I think we've been talking here at Broad, we've been musing on the fact that Kasey Chambers' new memoir is called Don't Be a Dickhead, and we've all fallen in love with the idea that that has got to be the best name for a memoir going around. Speaking of great names for a memoir and women taking their place in literature and telling her story as opposed to his story, the place of women in literature is something that the Stella Prize is all about, founded in 2012. The signature event is the annual Stella Prize, a major literary award celebrating Australian women's writing. And I'm so thrilled to be looking at the CEO of the Stella Prize, Fiona Sweet. Thank you for coming in. How magnificent to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's really a thrill to be on Broad.
It's a thrill to be on Broad, and an extra thrill to have you on Fierce on Broad.
Yes.
This little wireless program. Tell us, for those who need a reintroduction or an introduction into the origins of Stella and who it is that we're talking about when we talk about the Stella Prize.
So the Stella Prize was started by an incredible group of active, passionate women who were in the literature field, who were looking at the Miles Franklin Award. And once again, in 2011, there were no women on the list, the long list, the short list, or the winners. And I think it had been many, many years. And the Miles Franklin Award, as you know, was set up by Stella Marie Miles Franklin. She set up an endowment to ensure that there was a prize for literature every year. So a woman set this prize up. So this group of women, I think it was after a readings conversation, decided that it was time to do something very, very different. And so they decided to set up an award strictly initially just for women, and now, of course, women and non-binary writers. And that happened in 2012. So we're in our 12th year. We've been giving away significant prize money, 60,000 cash to the winner, 4,000 to the long listers and 1,000 short listers, I should say, and 1,000 for the long listers. So significant amounts of money are given away to the writers who are judged by a panel of 5 judges, every year different judges. And what's amazing is that Stella is very different to other prizes in Australia because we don't, of course, because we're an organisation that's, smart, clever and, women.
Sassy and fierce.
Sassy and fierce. We do PR, we do marketing. We really encourage the growth of sales of their books. So it's not just the prize, it's also making sure that their books are out there, everyone knows about them, there's lots of media about them, there's lots of reviews of them. Which is why we do a research piece called The Count, which analyses who's reviewing, men versus women, who's being reviewed, and the column centimetres and the quality of the publication as well. So we're keeping the media to account as well.
Can we stay with Stella Miles Franklin and the fact that Stella wrote under a pseudonym that was a male name, and the rationale around that is probably pretty clear, and it was documented in My Brilliant Career, that incredible film that I think we all saw, and if you haven't, you should. But what does that say about, I guess, that time and how far, we might have travelled, in that time? Because it was a huge issue at the time that you couldn't even write as a woman because no one would publish you.
I mean, that was the reality of the literature world, not just Australia but worldwide, was that you had a much better chance of being published if you're a man. And if we go across all industries at that time, that was pretty prevalent. I mean, it was a time when women didn't have the vote. Women had to leave their jobs if they got married or had a baby. I mean, there were lots of things that women that were no's for women, really. So for Stella to be such an incredibly powerful feminist, and as we know, she travelled the world, met with all the amazing other feminists and was very active, for her to still have to change her name because, staunch feminist, just is really indicative of the time.
Fiona Sweet is with us. She's the CEO of the Stella Prize, which is the major literary award celebrating Australian women's writing every year. Also delivers a bunch of events throughout the calendar year as well, and there are a bunch of them on, which is one of the reasons we thought it would be great to have a chat to you. But the Stella Day Out, which is so divine, with a big nod to the big day out, but the Stella Day Out is a very stellar name. And what's going? And this is national. You know, you're going national. You're doing a bunch of dates in regional New South Wales, regional Victoria, Sydney, and Melbourne. So you know, certainly sort of drawing the net out a little bit. What is the Stella Day Out all about?
So we did. I did when I thought of the Stella Day Out. I was thinking Big Day Out. So Stella Day Out, just to first and foremost, it's a one-day literature festival celebrating the stellar authors. There's 144 writers that have been longlisted, shortlisted or won since the inception of the award in 2012. And so it was something we decided to do, which was to ensure that we're always supporting and encouraging conversations and discussions about women's issues, women's literature and the other. And so it's a one-day free event with 2 to 3 to 4 talks, depending how big the city is. And it's really to support audiences, to ensure that all audiences can attend and all audiences can engage with these writers and their conversations. And, of course, you know, ensuring that we pay well the authors and, you know, encouraging the sales of books. And the bookstores have actually said they sell more books on our free days than in paid events. And I'm guessing, like all of us, if you haven't paid, you might buy a book.
Well, and that would be the economy of scale, I would imagine.
Yeah, so
I've got a bit of extra dosh sloshing about, and I've been able to hear from these incredible authors, and I'm motivated to pick up a book. You've brought one in, actually, and I'm thrilled that you've brought the book in of the magnificent Nadi Simpson, who I first met when she was she's still in the Stiff Gins. Stiff Gins have been going for over 2 decades now, and Nads is one of the founders of the Stiff Gins, incredible band. But she's written Song of the Crocodile, which has been much celebrated. Tell us a little bit about this book.
It's a beautiful book. I've only just recently read it because we're interviewing. Well, actually, I'm interviewing. Often we say we, don't we? When we say what I.
That's all right.
I'm interviewing Nadi Simpson in Orange in regional Victoria on the 23rd of November. So I've just read her book. As you can imagine, I've only been in the job for a year and a half, and there's 144 books. So I'm really working through the list.
How's your bedside table?
Yeah, full of TBRs, to be reads. Yeah. So Nadi's book is beautiful because it is a First Nations tale by a First Nations person about a time and place in a small country town where life is just incredibly tough. And she tells a very sad and beautiful story, and it's beautifully written, and I suppose it's because she's a songwriter as well. She's got the lyrics. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more from her about how she wrote it, who the characters are, whether the characters are people that she sort of somewhat knows, whether it's really fictitious, the town, or whether it's something from memory or from family.
Lived experience.
Yeah.
Question without notice, or not too much notice.
Oh.
Could you be persuaded to read a paragraph so that we get a sense of that beautiful lyricism that Nadi brings to her work, both as a songwriter, but perhaps an excerpt that might entice folk to sort of run down to the shops?
Well, I've just opened the page, page 245.
Why not?
It was after lunch when Millie, charmed by the breeze and the newly warm weather, decided on a walk. While she never had a particular route planned, she often found herself on the road to the campgrounds. With the change in the season, there might be new blooms on the punty bush or even lilies along the river she could bring back and put in a vase.
I'm already there.
She eased Paddy into his pram and bumped him down the front steps and across the dirt yard to the footpath. The wheels glided over the pavement with ease. Nothing like the lopsided rotation of her own squeaking baby carriage. She'd been angry with Will when he replaced the rusty green carriage with the smoother, newer model. It had been a constant part of her old life, her new pram and new life bearing little resemblance to anything she had known.
Beautiful. I want to know what happens next.
Would you have to read the whole book?
I will have to read the whole book, and fortuitously, you may have brought in a copy that I can do exactly that with.
I have left it for you.
Fiona Sweet is the CEO of the Stella
Live big. Live broad.
Broad Radio.
Download the Broad Radio app now to listen.